Next question from 373-509.
Good evening, Congresswoman. I've been quite displeased with what's been going on in the political system over at least the last 20 years, with the Congress and the President and the parties just seem to be becoming more and more at odds with each other, that they can't communicate. Now, I'm a little bit older. I can remember the times before there were arguments and people on both sides of the aisle would get together and discuss, and you'd have people from both sides. But now you are so politicized, so structured to one idea or another. Is it time that we break up the two parties we have and perhaps generate another 3, 4 political parties that may more represent the people of the United States? Because no one is a pure Democrat, no one's a pure Republican.
Okay, first of all, if you look at countries that have done that, and then they have to work really hard to build a coalition, you would recognize that while that certainly sounds good, you know, there are some pretty deep problems inherent with that. So, you know, for me, I wouldn't recommend that. I have to tell you that I don't agree with everything the Democrats do. And I don't
vote that way, though.
I don't, actually. And I will tell you, it's kind of funny because I was teasing a Republican friend of mine, a colleague, and I said, you know, I've been voting with you guys on Guantanamo all along. You never sent a thank you, and you didn't run an ad for me either. And he looked at me and he laughed. So I want you to know that there is, you know, some camaraderie there. Also, we work in our committees. I'm on the Armed Services Committee. It's the most nonpartisan committee because we know if we don't get it right, you know, everybody will suffer there. I'm on Education and Labor, which is very partisan. It certainly is. And I'm on Natural Resources, and it depends where you live about how you feel about Western water rights versus Eastern, you know, taking care of our rivers. We all have different opinions there. But we do work pretty well on committee. We really do. What you see on the floor of the House of Representatives is what we've seen here. Some of you have been shouting out, and you see that on the floor too. So what we're seeing is this division, but it isn't just Congress, I would point out. I'm doing 8 town halls in these 2 weeks, and everybody's been shouting at each other.
Bigger venues.
Shouting, well, no, the bigger venues we saw in August, and people shouted at each other there too. So I would agree with you that there needs to be more civility, and we need to calm it down. So, and I'll tell you, the suspicion's unbelievable. We have these numbers in here, and a couple of town halls ago, a guy came up and said, I'm looking for my number. And we said, help yourself. And he went through, and everybody looked, and sure enough, their numbers were in there. But they were so suspicious that the numbers hadn't been called that they wanted to check to make sure we hadn't done anything. So you talk about the mood of distrust. Yes, yes, and the shouting out and that kind of behavior. And I agree with you. You know, I grew up the only Democrat in a conservative Republican family, and we never had this. No, saying next number is that exact kind of thing that he asked me a question, and I'm trying to answer it. I grew up in a conservative Republican family, and we never behaved this way. Let me tell you, we fought over every single issue, obviously, but we never got into some of the things that you're seeing. It is disappointing, but it does call on all of us to think about how are we talking to each other? What are we saying here? Can we disagree without the personal attacks? Can we communicate in a better way? And should we? Yes, we should. So, you know, I work with a few co-workers in Washington who get up there and scream and yell. I'm not proud of that, but I suspect you have a few co-workers who scream and yell also, and you're not happy about that. But it is up to all of us to at least try to calm the dialogue. And I think the media has a role too. I think they do. I think we're all responsible for returning to what you talked about before, where they could disagree vehemently on the floor, and then they could go out and have dinner afterwards. And the ones who have been there the longest really long for that, and they tell us, you know, when they used to be able to do that. And I hope that we can. But I will tell you that I have some terrific Republican friends, and I don't think we have voted the same way on the floor at all. But I respect them. I understand why they're voting the way they vote, and I think they respect me also. So we do have our friendships.